Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Bridge Builders of Diversity, where we're bridging the gap between our typical peers and our friends with disabilities. And if you all know, it is September. And what is September?
September is
Deaf Awareness Month.
It is. And the International Week of Deaf People is coming up on starting September 19th. And I found a really cool resource at the World Federation of Deaf People. And one of the things that they do is they have daily themes every week of their International Week of Deaf People. And starting with Monday, the 19th of September is Sign Language in Education. And they say the acquisition of sign language from birth from fluent sign language models is critical to the cognitive and social development of deaf children. So let's bring more sign language into education.
Absolutely.
But we don't stop there. No. Because on Tuesday,
computers, they do funny things sometimes.
It just did a wacky thing to me.
But even where we're from, Rhode Island has a great Deaf Awareness Month. Lots of activities. Of course, I forgot that card with all the activities on it at home. But you can Google them and find them in your local areas.
So there's going to be great things going on, and here we go, International Week of Deaf People. I found it. Please stand by. So on Tuesday, September 20th, Sustainable Economic Opportunities for Deaf People is the theme of the day. And as of 2011, the International Labor Organization states that approximately 80% of persons with disabilities, including deaf people, are of working age. But we also know
that many of them don't have jobs,
are unemployed. Check out our TED Talk.
Yes, that will be linked.
The need to support people with disabilities in the workforce because...
Yeah, and that applies to deaf people too. A lot of people don't like to hire people who are deaf or hard of hearing.
Right, and I heard something really cool on the radio today that making an accommodation, an ADA accommodation for most people, typically is as cheap as $500.
Yeah.
It rarely is extraordinarily expensive to make an accommodation for somebody in the workforce. However, let's move on to Wednesday, September 21st. Healthcare for all is the theme.
Yes.
Full access to health-related information and services is a basic precondition for enjoyment of our most fundamental rights. Deaf people in the medical community struggle with finding interpreters, understanding what their doctor is saying, and the doctor is making sure that they understand. So this is a serious issue for people with cognitive disabilities, but especially people who are deaf.
And one thing I find, like my son's hard of hearing, he's part of the deaf community, goes to the deaf school here where we live, and when I bring them to the doctors, depending on the doctor, some are wonderful with them, but a lot of people want to communicate through me. I don't live in his body, so I don't really know what he's feeling. I may be able to give my observations. So it's important to engage with the person who is deaf or hard of hearing and find out how they actually feel and not by somebody else who's there.
Right.
And somebody who's not a sign interpreter, especially for more serious things like health, it's not really appropriate to communicate through somebody else who's not an interpreter.
It's almost like talking about someone in front of them. Would you do that to a typical person? You wouldn't talk about them in front of them.
Right.
So
and you don't want the miscommunication about what they're really feeling. Like, I've taken sign language classes, but I'm certainly not proficient in it. I've struggled with learning it. So for me to interpret what my son's saying, I may interpret it differently.
Right.
And, medical signs are very different. That's a specialty in interpreting. So just be mindful of that. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Absolutely. So now we're moving on to Thursday, September 22nd. This is all 2022, so we're bringing you hot information right up from the cyberverse. Safeguarding deaf people in times of crisis. So the past year has shown us the new needs and new ways of guaranteeing the well-being of deaf people in situations of crisis.
Right, when we all had masks on our face.
It was tricky.
Yeah, for deaf people because
we
part
don't
of
know
their
sign.
language, yeah, and part of their language is eyebrows up or down or a facial grimace.
Lip reading.
Yeah.
So what was covered? Our facial expressions and our lips. So deaf people were really shut off from the general population during those mass times. So it was important to come up with different ways for deaf people to communicate with those while we were keeping ourselves masked. So today we emphasize the importance of securing and maintaining the human rights of all deaf people during the different, multiple, and overlapping crises that we face today. Really, really important topic to consider. But moving on to Friday, September 23rd.
And I will put the link to this organization, World Federation of the Deaf.
Because there's more and more information than what we're bringing to you.
Right.
But on Friday, the theme is Sign Language Unites Us, which that one really tickled me because that's a great way to break the ice, even if you only know a few signs. And I'm a giant advocate of teaching young children sign before they can speak, even if they are hearing, simply because it supports language acquisition. But on this International Day, Sign Language, we celebrate our collective efforts, deaf communities, governments, and civil society representatives to recognize and promote the different national sign languages around the world. So interesting fact, Sherry. Not all sign language is the same.
No, not even in the United States. There's all different dialects throughout our own country and the countries across the globe.
So interesting. So you can learn a foreign language within a foreign language.
It's kind of like we have different dialects of language throughout the country.
True.
It's the same thing, it's just different dialects.
Right. And moving on to Saturday, September 24th, intersectional deaf communities. Deaf communities are diverse, intersectional communities. Today we celebrate our richly diverse deaf communities and the many ways of living and being in the world that our diverse deaf communities share.
Yeah.
What a unifying theme. I love this one.
Yeah, and it's a very fascinating culture. It's wonderful.
And celebrating the diversity within a diverse culture. That's terrific.
I've been very blessed to have the experience of getting to learn the deaf community and their culture. It's very fascinating.
It is. It's very rich and multi-layered. So take a dive in on Saturday, September 24th, if you are able.
And the last day
is Sunday, September 25th, Deaf Leadership for Tomorrow. I love this. The idea of self-advocacy and leading your own community makes it a stronger and more encompassing and integrated community. For more than a century, deaf communities around the world have organized into representative associations to advance their human rights. That's such an important topic, is human rights and the disability community, but especially for people who are deaf. We will celebrate this unity and these advances on Sunday, September 25th. So I can't wait to celebrate.
Yes, and I will have this link down below so you can check it out.
Take a look at the World Federation of the Deaf and the resources that they have available.
Yeah, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like our content. I'm Sherry. I'm a mother of a child with Down syndrome and a son with dyslexia, and this is...
I'm Roberta. I'm a special education teacher, and together we are bridge builders of diversity, building bridges of understanding and community between the typical population and the disabled population. Yeah. If you want to hear about anything else,
comment below.
Please comment below. We would love to do a little bit of research and bring you these topics and build some more bridges.
All right. Thank you guys. We appreciate you all. Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Bye-bye.